From the underground to the world stage. One stage, countless voices. The conversation that shapes culture, politics, entertainment, and society. Politicians, comedians, musicians, actors, public servants, leaders, unfiltered, unscripted, unmissable. This is Debated Live.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Debated Live. My name is Jordan Kensington, your host for what will be an incredible show today. We are joined by Dr. Forbes Riley today. You guys are in for a treat. When I tell you about anything to do with sales, Dr. Forbes knows what she's talking about. Before I introduce her to the show, I'll play a little clip
most people know me
here.
as the queen of pitch, but they don't really know how I got started.
How did you get started?
The first way I got started was I was an actress and a television host in Los Angeles. And one day I walked into a studio and there was a little piece of paper that said, "Sell me this pen," long before Wolf of Wall Street ever happened. I looked at the camera and thought, you know what? I'm not going to do what I think everyone else is going to do. They would sell the features. They would say it's a black pen. You hold it in your hand. It sells for $1. I said, maybe I don't do that. I looked at the camera, took a leap of faith, and I said, I was 16 when I got off to college. I was a little lonely, a little scared, a little insecure. And my mother used to write me longhand notes every day. And I would race to the mailbox to go get them. And I realized a pen like this could reach out and touch somebody's heart. Well, the owner of the network, Body by Jake, comes around from the camera, grabs my face, "You're going to make me a very rich person." I didn't know what he was talking about. What he meant was that I had some innate ability to pitch things and get people through a camera lens to want to buy it.
So where did that take you in your career?
So what happened was for 5 years, I pitched every health and wellness product that came out. They all came onto the network that we had called Fit TV. And 5 years later, Jake would sell that network to Fox TV, $500 million in 1993. Then I happened to be in the right place at the right time. A thing called infomercials were born. And they were half-hour TV commercial that had more of a story to them. And it just fit me like a glove. Because most 2-minute commercials were like Billy Mays going, "Hey, you need to buy this product." And I always had this vision that as a woman, if I yell at you through the TV, you're going to hear your mother, your wife, your sister. They don't want to hear women yelling. Billy could get away with that. But in a half-hour format infomercial, I could tell stories, I could be engaging, and I created a formula. And it's funny because I didn't quite realize I had a formula until I took my business online 5 years ago, and everything changed. Because my daughter came to me and said, "Mom, you do something you could teach other people." And I said to her, "I'm good. I don't need to teach this. I've made a lot of money. I've done really well. Why would I teach what I know? Why would I teach people who could be my competition?" And she looked at me and she smiled and she said, "I don't think there's any competition to who and what you are and what you've done. But if you don't tell and teach other people, you won't have a legacy. And that means a lot of people are going to miss out on what your real brilliance is." If you love this content and want to make sure you see more of it in your feed, then add me to your favorites.
Story there, and that's the story of Dr. Riley. Dr. Forbes Riley, welcome to the show. How are you?
She sounds fascinating. I want to hang out with her.
I want to hang out with her too. And we're lucky we're hanging out with her right now on Buvix TV on the Debated Show. So, Dr. Forbes, let's go all the way back to the start. Now, when did you know that you will be, firstly, in the media industry and also someone that will be really good at sales? When did you know? Was it at that point when you were growing up? Did something happen that kind of gave you that kind of instinct that this is where you would be going to?
I figured it out yesterday. So seriously, and seriously, that's what's a really important thing. I did not figure this out along the way, which gives your listeners a whole lot of hope. There was no grand scheme plan here. I just wanted to matter. And I do, by the way, guys, I show this story every Sunday. I share this live with people. But when I was a kid, I was 8. I'm the immigrant daughter from the Ukraine, second generation parents, didn't have a whole lot of money, didn't have a whole lot of dreams. They just wanted to raise a wonderful family and keep them safe. And they were hardworking, beautiful people, but not a lot of big dreams because those were for other people. They came from a culture that supported that. And so for your listeners, I think it's really important to not listen to your past, your parents, your bullies, your teachers, or anybody. You moving forward are based on you and your mentors and your vision for your life. Leave the baggage at home like they make you do when you get on an airplane. And so I've been on stage speaking most of my life, and I look back and I had to put the pieces together because it wasn't very apparent. I get to elementary school and my teeth go in all different directions. And they said to me, "You need braces." So my parents put me in braces. Do you have braces, Jordan?
Yeah, no braces. We've got them here in London. Yeah, we got them in the UK. Yeah.
Right. They didn't do me for the typical 1, 3, or 5 years. I had braces for 8 years of my life. You took a little girl, and I have this picture of me looking so sad because at some point they screwed a thing into my mouth called a tongue thruster. I said, "Now I can't talk like this." And so for 2 years, nobody could understand a word that I said. I didn't have any friends. I was a very awkward, very smart little girl who would come home, hang out with her mom, who was a bit of a hoarder, and I would do my homework and not much else. And then my dad was in a horrible accident. So it really insulated how I grew up. Well, at one point, the braces came off, and my dad had a horrible accident. He was in the hospital, spent 3 years, my whole high school in the hospital, getting his hand rebuilt. And my mother turned to me and said, "Kiddo, we have no money for college. We were flat broke." And she said, "But there's a beauty pageant happening." Now, here's what you don't know, and I'd love to share with your audience. I just don't have it up at the moment. When I was about 10, I walked into a baseball bat. So not only did I have braces, but I had a broken nose. I had big, fat, frizzy hair. I was overweight. And my mother looked at my face and said, "Well, that contest is not going to work for us." There's nothing like as a girl having your mother say, she wasn't being mean. She was protecting me. And the funny thing about
Yes.
saying things out loud, people hear things. If you can articulate your dreams, I promise, as wacky as they might be, you can make them come true. John F. Kennedy in 1961 looked up at the moon and said, "We're going there." That's a ridiculous statement. 3 years later, he was there. How do you do that? Okay, you say it out loud. So my dad's doctor turned to my mother and said, "I feel really bad for your family. You've been through so much. Can I fix your daughter's nose for free?" And
That's crazy.
I woke up, well, what's amazing is I looked up a few days later, I woke up and this girl who had a cute little nose, my eyes looked bigger. I cut my hair a little bit. I hadn't eaten for a little while, so I lost a couple of pounds. And I looked at that little 15-and-a-half-year-old and I said, "You know what? We're going to go save our family." And we did. I entered the
Wow.
competition. I had to have a hand-me-down, goofy, powder blue bridesmaid's dress. But I had a real why. I wanted to win because I wanted to make my mom and dad proud. I wanted to matter. And I don't know quite what your driving force in life is, but mine is I just wanted to matter. I also used to dream a lot. My only friends were television and movies. I'm the best movie trivia person you know because I watched, those were the only friends I had. I wanted to be Jane Fonda and Katharine Hepburn, and I wanted to kiss the cute guys. And that was my whole life. I also wanted to see all the places I saw in movies. And I travel to them now. And I can imagine, Audrey Hepburn does this thing in Rome where she sticks her hand in something. I remember that moment in the Gladiators, or you see Paris or the top of New York Empire. I can always attach these to movie things. And I often think that my life is a movie, good or bad, which, by the way, gets you through a lot of problems. Because when the bad happens, you have to remember that life happens for you, not to you. So you don't get to
Yes.
you don't get to get just good things in your life. You get to get put down, hurt, screwed over, and your job at that moment is to figure out what's the lesson here and how do I learn it fast so I don't do it again? Because I've repeated horrible lessons on my own. Like, man, wasn't I just here? Didn't I say to myself, learn this? So anyway, I decided after college to go off and become an actress. No one thought I could do that. Everyone said, "You're crazy." I auditioned for my first feature, got the lead role. Ooh, I'm sure you've seen it. It's called Splatter University. Haven't seen that one, have you?
Right.
Yeah, it's under
I
the
haven't seen
horror
that one.
slasher.
Fair enough.
Let me tell you something. It's got its own Facebook page. I did that 30 some odd
Fair
years
enough.
ago. I did lots of
Okay.
movies, lots of soap operas. I just kept going. I just wanted to matter. And while I was doing that, I used to fly to Club Med, which is an all-inclusive resort. I used to get on stage
Yep.
and I used to organize the entertainment there. I used to teach people how to dance. I have very little social life, but I work really hard. And so all of those things had no idea where they were going. And I have lots of micro stories that I love sharing. How I ended up learning to ski and doing stand-up comedy at ski resorts for years. You're like, wait a second, you did that too? Wait, you also hosted the X Games with Stuart Scott, the premier sports thing? I'm like, yes, I did that too. At a national radio show, I hosted the Laugh. Dude, there was no rhyme or reason, and I couldn't find a manager or somebody to really help me and architect something. So I just kept moving forward. Now, here's the next story though. Even when I couldn't find there was a lot of Me Too movement when I was growing up. If you were cute and they would just chase you around desks and, oh, it's the casting couch. I was raised with a very prudish mother. She slept with the only man she married, and she gave me some real strict morals. So that was never an option. So here's what I did. Kind of like you're doing your own podcast now. This did not exist 40 years ago. But I opened up an agency when I couldn't find a manager. And I hired a woman. I called it Creative Management for Artists, CMA. I hired a British woman named Lindsay Maxwell. And Lindsay thought Forbes Riley was spectacular. You know why?
That's a good accent, by the way. That's a good British accent.
I do a whole variety. I really love doing magazine. I'm sorry. I spent a lot of time living on the UK. But it was good enough that I became my own manager. I would literally call people
Wow.
going, you need to meet Forbes Riley. And I would tell them all of what, and you know what? I booked a ton of work, more work than I've ever booked through anybody, because number one, I knew how to
That's
pitch.
amazing.
I knew how to pitch me, and I was my only talent. That's how I
That's
started.
amazing. That's amazing. That's why you're called the queen of pitches. Now, a few months ago, I was talking in the same couch with Mark Cuban, who from Shark Tank, and we were talking together about my first. I mean, your story kind of reminds me of my first company. I started in '98. And went on to sell that like 2-3 years later for 30 million. And then we just expanded to 15 countries after that. But my first company was started, and I was speaking to Mark because Mark was the one who powered a stream. So before, can you imagine 98, before all this streaming was happening, we started the first streaming television radio a station in 98 in the UK. And the streaming company was Mark's company, A Stream. Mark Cuban ran it. Yes.
Funny.
So when we were talking, I was saying, I've got emails from you when you were broke, right? Because he sold that company. And we were talking about there are a lot of entrepreneurs now that get into business. They want to get into business, and they want to get into business because entrepreneurship is now cool. Back in the day, it was just like nobody wanted to be a business person. No one would get in business. And the one thing we both agreed on, which I want to ask you as well, is if you want to be an entrepreneur and you don't know how to sell, give up. Now, am I right or am I wrong? Do you need sales?
No.
Do you need to know how to sell or not?
Here's the thing. You need to know how to pitch. Selling is very different because you need to pitch. If you don't like selling, I hate selling. So I pitched my sales team to sell for me. At the top of a company,
Right.
and you can certainly share with this, and I know Mark feels the same way, you're never the only person there. You just bring your skill set.
Sure.
So if you don't know how to pitch, you won't get a good partner. And so now I don't sell a partner. I don't sell a sales team. I don't sell people on my team. I pitch them. I enroll them. And I do teach this. I'm one of the only people. I've just finished. The book is launching April 25th. And I'll tell you why.
Pitch Secrets A to Z. Okay.
Here's the thing. If you can pitch, you can get your husband, like I do, to rub your neck in the middle of the night going, oh, honey, I got a cramp. Can you rub it? You can get your kids.
Don't tell my wife that. Don't tell my wife that. She might be watching.
Oh, you know, but you're going to pitch your wife. You ever not go to the restaurant that you wanted to go to because you sucked at pitching? Let me tell you something. You get anything and everything you want when you master the art of pitching. And guys, pitching has nothing to do with sales. Isn't that funny? Selling.
So what is the difference between pitching and selling for people that don't know? So when I talk about selling, I actually mean pitching, but what is the difference?
No. That's the irony. Pitching and selling are two very different things. That's like saying black and orange. They're both colors, but they're very different. So, I made a career out of pitching. How do I know this? Right. By the way, if I get this next answer right, you're going to go, Forbes, you're a genius. Okay, here we go. I'm going to make a prediction. I'm going to literally write something on this piece of paper. You and I have not really met. I made a little prediction about what I think sales is. I'm holding it on my chest. Here's a question. Would you like to see something cool?
Yes.
Okay, I win. I know you're going to say that. Pitching has to do with know what the other person's going to say and getting them to say what you want. Sales is closing a deal and getting a credit card. That's a very different concept. So when I talk about pitching, and I break it down every Sunday, dude, I do a 2-hour live training. I've been doing this for 6 years. It's 5 p.m. here, 10 p.m. in the UK, and it's for free. So what I do there is I enroll you into what is pitching. Okay, so number one, pitching is exciting people. How many times on Shark Tank do people get up there and they're just freaking boring? I got a great idea, and let me tell you about my company.
That is true.
Right? Or you're at an event. Somebody shakes your hand. You're going to sell them right off the top? No, you're going to pitch them. You're going to pitch them into going, hi, here's who I am, and here's what I do, and here's why it will work for you. I literally shake people's hands. It's called the $100,000 handshake. And in about 20 seconds, if you hear the words, tell me more, you win. None of that is sales training.
That's amazing. I call it the 5-second rule, but I love it. I love it. So you have a story where you were selling a pen or you were asked to sell a pen. And that was where your boss actually turned around and said, look, I can see you're going to make me a lot of money. How did that go? What happened? At that point, did you actually know you could sell, or just a mistake? Were you just trying? Was it just something that just happened?
This is the part when you said, when did you know? I had no idea. This is the part when
Right.
Leonardo DiCaprio was on a sitcom with Michael J. Fox.
Playing Jordan Belfort. Yeah.
Right. No.
Wolf of Wall
That's
Street.
that's his movie. No. Let's go back to
Oh,
little baby.
okay.
Let's go back to little baby Leo. Leo was on a
Right.
sitcom, okay, called Family Ties. One day he walks into an audition as a kid for this silly movie called Titanic. And it's a stupid movie because we know the ending before it starts and it's not good, right?
Come on.
So he doesn't think that's going to
Yes.
do anything for his career. He auditions, gets the lead, and then what happens 2 years later? Boom. That's how careers happen. So you guys, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be successful, the first thing you want to do is you want to lay groundwork. You will not be overnight successful. Nobody is. It doesn't work that way. You have to
Of
build it
course.
down. But so Leo got to that point. Titanic was great, but he's also managed to strategically build a good career. So for me, I don't like sales. I'm doing acting and modeling and commercials. I walk into a room and there's a camera there. And this is back in 1990, very different than the world is today. There's no cell phones. And there's a
Yes, yeah.
pen sitting on a table. And the note says, sell the camera this pen. And I look at the camera. I'm like, I'm in the room by myself with the camera operator. And I'm like, oh, geez, I don't like selling. And so my head went, I could hear my dad's voice because my dad was a magician and he was an inventor and he was really goofy. I was raised to be really goofy. I'm quite the out of the box
Right.
thinker. And so everyone
Mm.
else, I'm sure they were like, okay, it's black pen, it's this, is that. I looked at the camera and I said, funny thing about pens, I skipped a year of high school. I was 15 and a half when I went to college. I was really smart, but I was really insecure. And my mother, God bless her, she would write me longhand notes every day. I'd race to the mailbox to get them so that I could feel close to her. And a pen like this can reach out and touch somebody's heart. Now, be mindful. This is the truth. I put that pen down and thought, that was freaking ridiculous. And I went to leave. And Body by Jake, who'd been way behind the camera, walks up to me, grabs my face, and says, you're going to make me a lot of money. Now, he is a brilliant pitcher. He had been on, you know who he is? Body by Jake is the very first personal trainer. What? Yeah, if you go
Wow.
back to the books, he was training Steven Spielberg and Harrison Ford in Hollywood.
Wow.
And he created the concept of personal training. And he's a visionary. He had this idea for selling products on TV. Nobody was doing this in the 90s. And I ended up doing this job for 5 years. He got everybody to come on who had a fitness product. He got Suzanne Summers and Richardson. It didn't matter. They came on and they also didn't know how to pitch because no one had ever done this. You give me a product, and this is literally a talent. You give me a product, I look at it, and I know exactly why you're going to want to buy this lipstick right now or anything on my
Well, not
desk.
me. I'm not
No,
going to
you-
lie to you. Not
Oh,
me.
no, let me tell you something. Oh, no, let me tell you something, Jake. You are going to buy this lipstick. You know why? Because you mentioned
For
your
my
beautiful
wife.
wife. No, but listen to
I
this.
knew it.
You don't have to be my avatar, dude. Anybody in front of me is fair game. And that is
I
what I
love it.
teach and preach in this book. I'm going to say, look, you got a
I love
beautiful
it.
smile. And no, I don't like seeing men in lipstick. That's just me. But I'm going to share with you. Your wife probably has the same problem I do. You get a little older, your lips crack. This is so full of aloe, vitamin C, and hyaluronic acid that my lips look like a baby's. It is so smooth. And the color changes to be the natural color of your lips. This is this is one of a kind. You want to try this? Yes or no?
Take my money. Not for me, for my wife.
I know. But so
I
here's
love
what
that.
I did. And you really got to understand this, guys, because I'm breaking the rules here. Everybody that I listen to when it comes to sales training, have your perfect avatar. Bullshit. I'm sorry.
Mm.
I have a fitness product here. Have you ever seen this product, by the way? This was huge
I
in the
haven't.
UK. Yeah, so this is
Right.
called a spin gym. I've done a lot of television in the UK with this product. And you spin it and
Okay.
it tightens and tones your arms. But you look at this and
Okay.
you're like, all right, what could that do? So traditional training, sales training says, find your avatar. My avatar is a 48-year-old woman. She's got 2 graduated kids. She drives a Lexus. She walks a Labradoodle and she likes hot yoga, not walking. That's what they told me. Okay, I've never met that woman, but I've sold $1 million in a day of this. Let me give you for an example.
Wow.
Because everyone's like, who's the avatar? So I look at, let's say a 7-year-old, a 17-year-old, and a 70-year-old, right? None of them are my avatar. I'm going to look, since this is an arm product, look at that 7-year-old girl and say, I watched you do gymnastics. You're too little to go to a gym, but you got to get some strength. This is going to work for you. Your mom's got my credit card. 17-year-old, I see you dancing on TikTok, but your posture is like this because you're too busy texting. This is going to open up your chest, allow you to look a lot better and get more views. Second sale. 70-year-old, sitting there watching on a Barca Lounge or some TV show. I said, you know what, man? You're getting old. and you won't be able to lift your kids. If you want some energy, you can do right in your chair doing this. You give me 5 minutes a day. Your wife's going to love you more because I promise you're going to be that spry guy, and your grandkids are going to think you rock. 3 sales, and none of them were named Sheila.
I love that. And so would you say storytelling forms part of this? Because when you talk about the first time you pitched the pen, you're talking about a story. And sometimes telling that story connects. People like storytelling. So do you think that needs to be brought in? And there has to be a balance as well. Some people can tell really good stories. Some people could tell they don't know the balance. The story can be very boring. And there has to be a balance. There is something to it, to learning to have that balance to where you can also read the room, read who you're speaking to, and know when to start, stop, middle, end.
All right, so I created a thing called the Ultimate Pitch Formula. It's 8 steps. Story is just one of those steps. And you know, it's funny, as you're putting this out, you've got listeners who are going, well, I know how to do that, and I know how to do that. You guys, do you ever make a recipe, Jordan? You ever make any kind of recipe?
Yeah.
If you leave out one ingredient, like you're making a cake, you're like, how many eggs? I want to make the cake anyway. I don't care what you want. You're not making a cake.
It's not going to work. It's not going to taste the same. It's true. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, Pitch Secret, the formula works there, and it works in the right order. It works in an order called the hub. I have a thing called question flip, where if you don't know these things and go, well, Forbes, I want to know how I sell 2.5 billion like you do. I'm always going to go the formula. So we can talk about story, but I'm going to tell you, story is 1/8 of the formula. Story is eggs, by the way. If you take the eggs out, it doesn't work. You have to become a very good storyteller. You have to understand whenever you tell a story, first of all, stop talking for your own sake. Talk because you know somebody's listening and you want them to take an action. Why are you telling the story?
Number one. That's number one.
That's number 7.
That's number 7. Okay.
Number 1, I won't teach you the whole formula here, but number 1 is figure out what you do, why you do it, what your competition is, and understand. People come to me all the time, Jordan, and it's embarrassing for them. They're like, Forbes, I created the greatest new fitness product ever. Look at this bungee cord. I'm like, there's been 800 of those. Yeah, I know, but mine's the best. No, there's been 800 of these. So that person never did any research and understand you can't just say that. Also, Shark Tank, when you go in and you pitch your product, do you know your numbers? Do you know your stats? There's all kinds of things that entrepreneurs, they miss. They can go to business school. There's technical things. If you don't know, you're not building a structure. The second thing that's really important is when someone asks you, what do you do? They don't care what you do. They care what you can do for them. So stop unloading. Well, I do this, and as soon as you say and, you're dead in the water. And will kill you. Because I don't want to and. I just want to know you do one thing, and then I need to leave. Unless you intrigue the person listening. I mean, you've had people pitch you, and you're like, oh, God, could they just stop talking? I don't care how many stories they tell. I'm still not interested. Because they fundamentally missed a key point. You have a solution when you create a product or a service. Everything is a solution. I'll test you here. What is this a solution to?
Was that a pen?
Yeah, it's a pen. What's this a solution to?
A solution for me to writing checks and signing contracts.
There you go.
Because everything you can type now.
Right, because everything you could type, but there's times when you want to give an autograph or you want to, you want to sign a check. So if we're selling a pen and you go, well, that's the problem. Somebody says, sell the pen. I'm going to, hey, you know what? Have you ever been lucky enough to write a really nice big check to somebody? Yeah, they don't let you type this. If you don't have a pen, you're dead in the water. And the next thing is you want to say to somebody, what's the pain point? So the pain point is if I don't have a pen like this, I get famous, I can't sign my autograph. I know this is a crazy example, but if I said to you and you're a celebrity going, do you have a really good Sharpie in your bag? And they're like, I don't need one. Tell you what. You're going to meet that ideal kid who looks up to you and says, wow, I want to be like you. And you want to write them a personal note and you've got a pen like this. It doesn't work. You need a really good Sharpie. That's called question flip. How do you understand?
Or if your phone has gone off and you meet someone who is literally your next business partner, and you're like, I can't get mine, and your phones have gone off. There's no way to get a pen. That's
right. I can't remember your number. I got to write it down. Who has a pen?
I need to write this somewhere. I need a pen.
That's why you sold a company because that insight for everybody listening. This is a skill set that you want to learn, because without it, you're not even in the race. Can you imagine you show up for a sprint race, like you're going to sprint, and you're the only one who brought high heel shoes and everyone else is wearing sneakers? I'm like, good luck with that, buddy.
You know what? what I've seen there, Dr. Forbes, you gave me 3 points, but what I'll say to the viewers is that they can see the rest in the book, right? They can read the rest of the book, right?
Let me share something about the book. See, the book is
Right.
for life. When you sing A
Right.
to Z, and I've never asked anybody, I'm just starting to promote my book. Jordan, what would you make A in a book like this, do you think?
My A will definitely be ambition. The reason why you have the ambition. So if you want to do something, why? What is the ambition? What is the actual,
that.
in French, c'est raison d'être. Why do you want to do it? What's the reason? The ambition. What's your ambition?
My A is attitude. And I learned a
Love
long
that.
time ago. It's called when an Oscar-winning director, who's my teacher, one of my mentors, told me this: attitude monitors talent. If you don't come in with a
I love
positive attitude and a very forward thinking, and then I created resources. So not only is this a book, but then you can download free resources to learn how to do the things I'm talking about. Because you're right, A
Do you
could
know
have been
what?
a
I
lot.
like that. Yeah, a lot of people could be watching and they were saying to themselves, Dr. Forbes, I get the attitude thing. And some people just haven't understood how to create a right attitude. Sometimes it's just, today they're having a happy day, tomorrow they're not having a happy day. Is an attitude, I mean, I know this, I'm playing angel's advocate here. Is an attitude something that you have to study every day and literally put yourself in an attitude? Because you cannot tell me you get up every day, literally get up in the morning like, yes, another day. This is going to be a good day today. Or
Oh,
is
my
this
baby,
something that you just have to?
wait, go back for a second. Any day that you
So
wake
good.
up on the side of the dirt, you'd better have that attitude. I have woken up in a
Right.
great deal of pain in a hospital. I almost died. I was dead for a little bit. I went septic after a kidney stone,
Man.
and they didn't think I was going to make it. And I very clearly remember what the day after that when I woke up and they explained to me what had happened. And I had this very clear moment going, every day that you wake up, you bless the ground, the bed, the people, yourself, and you go, because it sucked where I was. I couldn't see my kids, and it almost all just went away. And so the attitude is, yes, I wake up every freaking morning, and I'm blessed now to look over the man that I love more than anything. I get to give him a kiss, and every morning we confess our love to each other. We profess our love to each other. Every night we go to bed, we do the same thing. Because I was lucky enough to meet a man who shattered one of my paradigms, because the second word for B is about belief. What do you believe to be true? And you can believe it's a great day or believe it's a crappy day. Same day to me. And so I said to him, when we first met, like you probably met with your wife, it's all lovey-dovey. And I said to him, that the honeymoon is going to end. And he looked at
Right.
me and said these words everybody should hear. Why does it have to? I said, what do you mean? He said, why does the honeymoon have to end? And every day I remember that phrase. I give him the biggest smoochy kiss. And some days I'm mad at him because the biggest smoochy kiss, and I give him a big cuddle, and I'm so freaking grateful to wake up, put my feet on the floor. I'm able to walk. I've had all kind of issues throughout my life. That level of gratitude is not a joke. It is, but that's why I created. So every letter in this book has a resource, and it's a free resource because just reading a book is not enough. There's going to be a training called Pitch Secrets A to Z, because some people like to watch me talk as opposed to read a book. But I'm going to tell you, these 26 steps are the foundation to everything that I do.
I love that. Words. I believe words are so important because words cast spells. In the English language, you talk about spelling, and the way you put words together are so important to get what you need in life, what you want in life. How important is learning how to communicate, the art of communication? How important is that?
It's everything. I don't know how many ums and likes and you knows have you heard out of my mouth? Freaking zero. You're not going to hear the word trying. You're not going to hear a phrase I don't
how
know.
You breathe. I'm trying to check how you breathe because you are fast.
I tell you, I teach this and I drill this, and I stop people in their tracks when they say these words. It's on my screen. Actually, basically, do you know how many people will say actually? Well, I'm actually here on television. You're not actually. I'm here talking to you. Cut the fluff words out, and the intentions become so much more powerful.
And how do you do that? Because obviously it's very, I always find out when you actually know how to do something, you just got to do it. I knew what's going to happen. And you know what you did there. You know what you did there as well. Because obviously when you know something, a lot of people will take take heed on that. And I also think that's why I said words were very important. You can actually put words into people's mouths and you can get them saying it. That's just what happened. That's why words are important. How do you teach people that? Because that's the most important thing that people, and especially in this age with young people as well, they go online, they're talking on social media 24/7. When it comes to face, they find it very difficult to have that social communication, to have that talk. And that's why some face-to-face meetings don't end up getting the results that you wanted to get. They're very good at emailing back and forth, but the face-to-face becomes a problem because there is no university that teaches you how to speak on the phones or how to speak face-to-face.
It's called the Ultimate Pitch Academy, and I own it.
Is that yours?
Yeah, Ultimate Pitch
That's
Academy.
yours.
Because there's no traditional school. By the way, traditional schools, how many of us graduated and couldn't find a job, it didn't solve anybody's problems? I have 2 degrees in 3 years.
I did law. Imagine, I did law at university. And I did law at university. When did we actually go in class and debate? It didn't happen. It just didn't happen, right?
I graduated in college. I couldn't balance a checkbook because nobody taught me a simple little life skill. I used to have to go to the ATM machine to figure out how much money I had because I didn't take the business class. I was doing another track. Oh, I'm sorry. Where's the human relations class? Where's the communications class? So, and I have twins. I have 23-year-old twins. Kind of legendary right now. My daughter's followed in my footsteps. My daughter's not going to college. She made her own million. You guys, there's a TED talk about her.
I love that.
Called Every Company Needs a Kid. Go to TEDx and type in McKenna Riley. You want to be inspired by a 22-year-old?
McKenna Riley. Every company. Love that.
Every company needs a kid. She got a standing ovation. Absolutely brilliant. And she talks about things that I've taught her, but she's brilliant. Her brother ended up going to college. His dad was a Notre Dame All-American football player. He was like, you got to go to college. And he's like, why am I in college? I spend so much money here, or we spend so much money. And what am I doing here? So there's an interesting, I get to see both sides of this coin because I was the first kid in my family to go to college. It was a really big thing. And my parents and I paid for that the whole rest of my parents' lives. That debt was so mounting and so horrible. Again, life happens for you, not to you. I wouldn't change that, but I wouldn't go back to college. Not in a heartbeat. And the skills that you want to learn, the cool thing is you can learn them online now. There are mentors, there are teaching everywhere. You can go to YouTube and it's free. So if you're an entrepreneur, say, Forbes, where do I start? I would start coming to a Sunday class completely for free. Just go to ForbesRiley.com and there's a link there to come.
ForbesRiley.com and go and learn completely for free. You mentioned your daughters, your twin daughters.
No. I got a one girl, one boy. Wait, one girl, one boy.
Oh, one girl, one boy. I've got one girl, one boy too. My girl is 1 year old. My boy is 5. And I've decided not to. My boy's not going to school. My mom actually, with me, I didn't go to school. I didn't go to university. I didn't go to traditional school. She actually created her own school, college, and I only went to university for the law degree, and that was it. I think that's the way forward. I think there's so much more you can teach kids without them having to go to traditional school, especially if you want to teach students of the future that are going to be multimillionaires. What do you think of AI? Because AI has actually transformed the whole industry, as it were. Especially in sales. I own one of the companies we own is ConstantCaller.com, and ConstantCaller.com has AI agents call up. I mean, we have clients all over the world where they can train themselves in your voice and literally sell anything. What do you think of AI? I'm always a big fan of innovation. We have a company where Constant Caller is doing very well, is making millions. However, I still look at the human interaction side of things and say, what's going to happen with that? As someone who's the queen of pitches, what do you think of that? What do you think of the AI side of things?
I think that we should ride the wave. Remember, I also read, I was born and I grew up before the internet. There was a wave of the internet. If you were smart enough back then to buy work.com, job.com, oneword.com. My friend bought business.com for $8.60, sold it for $52 million. If you can identify a wave like you're doing and you're leveraging AI as AI agents, congratulations. For all of us who are loving ChatGPT and picture apps and all the AI stuff that we're doing, enjoy it now. Mark my words, it will not last. Why do I say that? Because I'm a big fan of the James Cameron movie, The Terminator. Do I believe that, Arnold's coming back 50 years from now, I'm going to kill Elon Musk's mother? Yeah, I kind of do. I do think that AI is going to get smarter than us. It works faster than we all do. The way it can write emails, and we're taking baby steps. And my prediction about this is enjoy your life now, because there will be no more menial jobs. There'll be no more people packing groceries. We already see the fact that we do this, driving cars, taxis, airplanes at some point. When all of this goes away, what happens to the human population? And I won't get into a debate about it, but I do think that you need to prepare for this and figure out a job and a thing that you love to do that can't be replaced. Because every menial database person, like you said, phone operators, it's all going away. And that's all we've ever known as humans. And I don't really understand what's going to happen, but none of us are seeing it. And we're all like, there's this thing when a tsunami hits, you know what a tsunami is? That's when there's an earthquake and this giant wave comes. Well, before the wave hits, and you can watch this, there's a lot of these documented, the water goes all the way out and people stand there and they're like, wow, where did it all go? And literally seconds later, this giant wave comes and squishes all of them. Hundreds of thousands of people have lost their lives standing there watching what they thought was really cool, and it killed them. So my word to the wise, because I'm a very big visionary, I've seen a lot of things before they've happened, is just take a look at all this, enjoy it now, make companies that work, solve problems, be brilliant, but be prepared.
I love that. Be prepared. I remember, like yourself, during the internet, when the internet came, there a lot of people were looking at that very skeptical at that time, especially the music industry, film, television industry. A lot of industry said, this is it. It's going to take our jobs, et cetera, et cetera. In the music industry, we know what happened. When Napster came, introduced downloads. It took away the ability to actually go into a shop and buy music. In the film industry, it's Netflix and Amazon Prime, et cetera. I mean, we are big in the film and television industry. It's taken away people going to cinemas and theaters. However, what you've seen being consistent from the 90s up till now is still a strive for human interaction. And you saw that clearly during COVID. People still come back to wanting to be with other people, that human social interaction. So do you think that's something that we need to, because look, you remember a time where your memory knew every phone number. If they asked you whose phone number, you had it in your memory. You had history lessons in your head. You didn't have to say, oh, actually, just give me a second, let me Google it. That wasn't what you were doing. Everything was so clean. Your memory was strong. Your telepathy was very strong as well. Now we rely on a lot of things. Now it's an advice to tell people, hey, go back a little bit. I'm not saying don't go forward, but really sharpen your organic side, because I still write and my writing skills have become so much better. And I find because I write so much, that's where coming back to the pen conversation, because I write so much, my memory becomes sharper because I'm doing something that's natural to what I'm using, something natural to me. When I keep typing for the whole year and I ask myself, when was the last time you wrote? I find out there is a difference between me writing and me typing for the whole year round. So do you advise people to, especially knowing what's happened in the past, knowing what the internet did, knowing what people today, and going to the future, seeing AI also doing that disruption, do you advise people to still try to learn and really have that organic side to you, that natural side to you, and not give up that natural side?
You know, as I was listening to you talk, I was thinking about the phrase "be human." There's a little thing running around on the internet right now where they're having you draw two different shaped lines at the same time because nobody really uses their other hand, whether you're left or righty. Yeah. If you hurt your right hand and you try to brush your teeth, you can't. It's a kind of a weird phenomenon. I mean, you're like, well, that's a weird hand. And so they're having you do two different things to access parts of your brain. The problem is our brains are very limited. Our education is very limited. Our attention span is very limited. And so my thought, enjoy your life. Life is a gift. Oh, it is. You're not going to, the people who are striving to compete with AI, that's never going to happen. I don't need copywriters. I can build a funnel and a website in the snap of a finger. I don't even need I take one picture and I can have an entire year's worth of headshots. It's, like I said, enjoy the wave because AI is a baby. Babies are so cute. How old are yours are little, right? Babies are adorable. We love them. And then they grow up and hurt us. Yeah. I'm not joking. Yeah. When my daughter, who's my best friend and business partner now at 23, she woke up one day at 12 and like, who are you and what have you done for me lately? I'm like, what? Wow. Like hormones kicked in. And then she's like, don't touch me. I'm like, oh, no. twitching on my lap. And it took years for her to come back. Well, imagine this. So AI is a baby. It thinks you're so cute. It's willing to give you your little, oh, I'll write your email for you. I'll make that phone call for you. And when AI gets a little bit older, and they're finding this now, they've asked AI, would it shut itself down? And it very clearly said no. Well,
I mean, there is a Facebook AI. They've created this. Well, AI have created a social network with AI agents, not for humans, just for AI agents, and they're communicating, starting their own religion. Really, like so it's already happening. But I'm always on the positive side. I always know that humans always win. Humans always win. Now you've been very, very successful. At this point, people that want to read your story can actually go into the books and get it. But at this point, you're now a multimillionaire. You're very successful, and your daughter now tells you, "Look, there's this big wave happening. There's people on TikTok selling. Infomercials have come back again, but in a different way. Everyone is selling online." You should go out there and teach. And your answer to that was, why would I teach people? I mean, that would be competition to me. But you decided to do it because of legacy. I also might add on there, and my mom always says, my mom is also an entrepreneur. She owns universities and colleges, but she always says that the day you retire is the day life ends. You have to keep going. You have to keep innovating. You have to keep creative. So some of it might be legacy. Some of it might also be, I can't see you with that much energy, just sat at home drinking a cocktail or wine and just being like, I can't be asked. You have to do something. So what is it? Is it a mixture of both, or is it just legacy?
So here's what's interesting about that. You said the word "you have to," and to everybody listening out there, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to pay your light bill. You don't have to brush your teeth. Your teeth will fall out and you'll be in the dark, but because you get to. No, this is a big word. You get to. I've watched people retire and die. I've watched people retire and thrive. My father-in-law just passed away at 92, and he'd retired, loved his life, and lived with his wife, and they just had a great time, retired from what he did for a living. I don't see that often enough. My personal big mentor in life was a man named Jack LaLanne. He was the godfather of fitness. Arnold Schwarzenegger credits him with the reason that he's fit. He passed away at 96, and he had never retired. I spent 8 years building a juicing company with him. His wife, March 15th, is turning 100. I just wrote 2 forwards for her book. She's 100, and she's going strong and lives on her own. She is my all-time role model and hero. And she did it. She rang the bell. If you got to the very top, and again, living on her own, still writing, still teaching, still with that message about if man made it, don't eat it. So here's the thing that you want to do. If you want to be thriving, if you want to enjoy your days, watch what you feed your body, watch how you work out your body, because this is the car, right? If you don't ever change the oil in the car, it just breaks down. If you got a flat tire and you don't pump air into it. So imagine your body is a car. I don't care what you want to do. If you don't do these things, you don't survive very long. I watched a dear friend of mine. He used to treat us to dinners. We all go to these big steakhouses. He'd order butter and bread and dessert. He just lost half his leg to diabetes. Make a choice. I don't drink alcohol. I don't eat a lot of things. I'm very strict about what I do. I'm married to a world champion bodybuilder, and this is important to us. But to other people, having a cocktail on a Friday night is important. So here's my advice. Go freaking love your life. Whatever it is, but you don't do one thing and say another, saying, I want to live to be 100 and have that beer and smoke your cigar, because that's not happening. And we can just prove that over and over again. And then you can say, well, George Burns lived to be 100. You know what? Congratulations. 1 in 1 million if you're that lucky. But I just think you want to take stock. And that's part of what this book does. That's why A, B, and C, well, C is a little bit more about business, but attitude and belief. You guys, you are the entrepreneur. You are the biggest resource that you have. I mean, here's another book that I've done. Guess what? I'm doing this. We're in fitness because it's that important to you.
I love that.
And you just remember, set out a goal, whatever it happens to be. So, I mean, and I do need to leave. I think this has been one of my favorite interviews. You have such energy and joy about you. I would like to meet your mom. She, to me, is the reason that you're so wonderful.
100%. And I'll make that happen. As
the owner of universities, forward thinking, she is just a rock star. And so congratulations.
No, you too. Congratulations to you. So one of my final questions I always ask people, I think it's very important to tell people where your energy comes from when you're at your lowest and when you're getting to. A lot of people have different times. I personally I'm a big believer. I'm not religious, but I'm a big believer in God, and I am a big believer that when I pray, I am filled. It's like charging a phone. I'm charged with the energy I need to literally to change the world. Do you believe in God, or do you have another source for your energy?
Well, I don't think God cares whether you believe in him or not. That's the first thing I think is really
Fair enough.
important. And I do think that's such an important thing. And that's why B is belief. I don't care what you believe. You can believe that your God is a football, and you can believe that God lives in the sky. You can believe whatever you want. There's a truth about who we are, and how we get made. You have two babies, I have two babies. And where'd they come from? It's all kind of a miracle to me. So, by the way, you talk about miracles. You know what happened the last 2 days? Are you on
What
Instagram?
happened?
Are you on Instagram?
I am. Yes, I'm with you. Yeah, yeah.
Do you know a company called the School of Hard Knocks?
Yeah,
Guys,
I saw him walk up to you and do an interview. He's very good. He's very good.
Let me tell you
I think we're
something.
gonna have him on here as well.
In the last 2 days, I have 7 million views. They
That's
shared
crazy.
that video over 150,000 times. Literally, my
That's crazy.
life just changed 2 days ago because there's a whole lot more people watching me. But here's what's interesting and exciting for you guys to hear. If this happened to me 5 years ago, I would have imploded, because having as much success, even as much failure, if it comes too soon, you don't have systems in place to handle it. You don't know how to monetize it, and it's wasted. I've done that many times. For the first time in my life, I've been sitting in this chair for the last 6 years doing my webinar every Sunday. And I teach. It's more than a webinar. It's a master class. I have 100,000 students. I teach now between 40 to 60 hours a month. And I love my students. I've learned from my students, and I figured out my mission and my purpose. You don't just go, there's no little fairy goes, boom, there's your mission, la, la, la. It's an evolution. Decide what you want in life. And here's the next part that is really important when it comes to goal setting, which, by the way, is chapter G. Set a consequence. So this is really important. I was going to talk to you about your word of the year. You tend to take action if there's a consequence. You can sit here and tell me, I want to be an entrepreneur, and then you don't do anything about it. And then you're going to say, but Forbes, I procrastinate. Do you want to know how you don't procrastinate? You want that secret? Can I leave you with that? Jordan, have you ever lied in bed and hit the snooze alarm?
I don't use an alarm. My alarm is here.
There you go. I love that. But most listeners out there, I've hit the snooze alarm. You procrastinate, or you've got a job, a thing you want to do. You're writing a book. You procrastinate. Here's how you don't procrastinate. Set a consequence. So if you like to snooze, there's two things that could happen. One, you're going to get fired if you don't show up on time. Or two, the house is burning. The house is burning. You don't hit the snooze alarm. You get your ass up. You're out of the house. Wow, how did that happen so fast? Consequence. Student comes to me a couple of weeks ago, and she said, Forbes, I've been working on this new manual I'm doing, but I'm just procrastinating. I said, when do you want it done by? She said, Friday. I said, great. How about I give you an extra Friday? So what do you mean? I said, I'll give you 2 weeks to finish this. If you don't, you'll write me a check for $500. And she was like,
oh, they're going to do it.
What? By Wednesday, I do this all the time with people, and I never make any money off of it, which really stinks. I do this with weight loss. You come to me, you want to wait, you lose weight? Great. You know what? Let's set an intention. 10 pounds this month. Oh, you didn't keep your resolution. You gained a few pounds. That's too bad. That's how most people think. If you're going to lose weight in my program, you're going to write me a check for $5,000, and you're going to put it in my bank account. We're going to decide how much you want to lose by when. Your choice, your idea. And here's what happens. As soon as they write that check, life changes. I can't touch that donut. That's a $5,000 donut. I got to go for a walk. If I don't, and all of a sudden I get more results because I set consequences. Guys, that's a free technique. You can do that anytime you want.
I love it. Final question. I love it because you got a final question. First of all, I like your ABC. Always be closing. You should be a politician because you could dodge questions like you dodge a bullet. I love that. I love that. From one king to another queen. I love that. Final question. What would you like your legacy to be? What would you like your legacy to be?
She was adorable. She was authentic. And I learned a whole lot by hanging out with her.
Dr. Forbes Riley. Who is Dr. Forbes Riley? The queen of the pitch. Great having you on the show. And you know what? We're going to keep talking. There's a lot we could do together. And I'm looking forward to more great things happening. Take care, Doctor, and have a great day today.
And give my love to your mom. To everybody out here, you're adorable. And we will definitely do this again. Bye, guys.
Amazing. Take care. Bye-bye. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that was Dr. Forbes Riley right here on the Debated Show. What an amazing, amazing, amazing woman, amazing interview. I hope you loved it. We talked about everything from, selling, but she calls it pitching because there's a difference between sales and pitching. Hopefully you learn about that. And most of the things she talks about, what I would say to you is go and research it yourself. Go and learn. I was speaking to somebody 2-3 days ago. I said, you can't stop learning. You have to keep learning. And the thing about learning is you have to kill your ego. The more people you speak to, the more people you learn from. What you're not going to do is to go behind. You're going to go forward. So it's so important to learn from people, find and seek people out. You see, the internet, one of the beauties of the internet is that you're going to find a lot of people that will teach you a lot of things. Some of it you don't need. But if you take the best out of every single thing, what will happen is you're going to be a master chef at cooking that dish that you need to feed your family. I hope you enjoyed the show. Subscribe to all the channels. If you're on Vuvix TV, subscribe to Vuvix TV. If you're on the Debated Show, subscribe to the Debated Show. If you're on my personal YouTube, Jordan Kensington, subscribe to it so that you're kept updated for more of the interviews we do. We have interviews all throughout the week with random guests, but all of them very inspirational. Take care, guys. Look after yourselves and each other and have an amazing weekend. It's Friday again. Let's go.
From the underground to the world stage. One stage, countless voices. The conversation that shapes culture, politics, entertainment, and society. Politicians, comedians, musicians, actors, public servants, leaders, unfiltered, unscripted, unmissable.